From wherever you are watching us in Kenya and around the world, welcome to Prime Edition, coming to you live from Broadcasting House here in the capital, Nairobi, Kenya. Good evening. My name is Mboya, and here is Prime Edition. Brakes slammed. High Court suspends privatization of state corporations. Marketing Kenya as an investment hub. President William Ruto in India for a two-day tour.
Amri jeshi mkuu ametoa jeshi la kitaifa Kenya Defence Forces kung'ang'ana na hii maneno. Serikali yote hakuna kazi nyingine tunafanya, tumesimamisha kazi ni kushughulikia wale ambao wameathirika.
Trail of destruction. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua tours flood-ravaged Garissa and Tana River counties, pledging government support. Lensa Odingo is in charge of our sign language interpretation and our socials at KBC Channel 1. Straight to our lead story. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua led a high-level humanitarian intervention Monday in Garissa and Tana River counties, some of the worst-hit regions by floods. Relevant cabinet secretaries, development partners, and other government agencies joined him in distributing food, non-food items, and medicine to thousands of families that are displaced by floods. Gachagua also announced the release of over 450 million shillings for cash transfers to at least 119,178 vulnerable households in 8 arid counties of Garissa and Tana River. Doreen Arange opens our coverage with a flood story.
The heavy rains that have persisted for a while now continue to cause untold suffering to thousands of Kenyans. Road infrastructure and homes have been destroyed by the raging flood waters. Thousands have been displaced, with the government now embarking on various intervention measures.
Rais kama amri jeshi mkuu ametoa jeshi la kitaifa Kenya Defence Forces kung'ang'ana na hii maneno. Ndege zote za kijeshi, malori yote ya kijeshi, gari zetu zote za polisi na serikali yote, hakuna kazi nyingine tunafanya, tumesimamisha kazi ni kushughulikia wale ambao wameathirika.
Speaking when he visited Tana River County, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua experiencing firsthand the impact of the rains.
Na kusema ukweli, katika yale macounties yote ambaye yako na shida ya mafuriko, Tana River ndio inaongoza kwa pande ya shida. Kwa hivyo ni jukumu letu kama serikali kuu na hao marafiki wetu wa kitaifa na county government na Red Cross, tuweke nguvu yetu yote hapa Tana River.
Area Governor Dadu Godana noting that the flood situation in Tana River has affected about 80% of the entire population. Leaders here calling for urgent support for the community following an outbreak of cholera, which they say must be speedily addressed to avert a health crisis. Earlier, the Deputy President visited Garissa and Madongo. Here, the government launched a cash transfer program that will benefit 119,178 vulnerable households in 8 arid counties that are worst affected by floods. Doreen Arange for Prime Edition.
The High Court has tonight temporarily halted the government's plan to privatize state corporations. This comes after Orange Democratic Movement Party moved to court to challenge the move, citing lack of public participation, as well as arguing that the privatization of some of the proposed state corporations were strategic installations central to the country's national security and heritage. Ruth Mungai puts that story in perspective.
The government has suffered a temporary setback following its plans to privatize state corporations deemed to be non-profitable. In what could send them back to the drawing board, Justice Chachamwita suspended the planned privatization after ODM through Advocate Jackson Awele argued the public was not given sufficient time to give its views on the Privatization Act, which they argue could fall into the hands of private companies. ODM in its court papers argues that some public assets like the KICC, Kenya Pipeline Company, Kenya Literature Bureau and the Kenya Seed Company can only be privatized with the consent of the people at a referendum. The petitioner says the corporations form part of the sovereign wealth of Kenya with significant cultural and strategic importance to the public. They also queried why the government appeared to be in a rush to dispose its assets. They argue that the government has not demonstrated the urgency to justify the intended rush or any incredible reasons that outweigh the constitutional questions they have raised in their case. On 9th October 2023, President William Ruto assented to the Privatization Bill 2023, the Impunch Act, into law and allowed its commencement as 27th October 2023. Those sued are the Speaker of the National Assembly, CS Treasury, and the Attorney General. Justice Chachamwita has directed ODM to serve their papers to the respondents immediately, and the case be heard on February 6 next year. Ruth Wamboy for Prime Edition.
From Ruth Wamboy's story on the pause of the sale of state corporations, let's cross over to India. The Open University of Kenya has entered into partnership with Indira Gandhi National Open University to diversify its programs and enhance technological infrastructure in the country. The deal was inked between Kenya and India on the first day of President William Ruto's two-day state visit to India. The head of state will also hold bilateral talks with India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Here is our reporter Abdiaziz Hashim with the details of the Indian visit.
The plane ferrying the president touched down in Mumbai on Monday. He was welcomed in his maiden visit to India. President William Ruto, who led a delegation from Kenya, is set to meet India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi to discuss, among other projects, touching on agriculture, trade, investment promotion, healthcare, particularly in pharmaceutical production and capacity building, education, ICT, maritime affairs, and renewable energy. Already the Open University of Kenya has entered into a partnership with Indira Gandhi National Open University. The institution that was established 38 years ago has 3.5 million students and is the largest open university in the world. It will help Kenya to diversify its program and enhance its technological infrastructure in the country. Further, Harsha Bangari, the managing director of India Exim Bank, has stated that the institute is in the process of setting up their regional headquarters in Kenya. He is accompanied by Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi, Principal Secretary University Education Dr. Beatrice Inyangala, PS Treasury Dr. Chris Kipto, PS ICT and Digital Economy Engineer John Tanui, and the Open University Vice Chancellor Professor Elijah Omwenga. Abdiaziz Hashim for Prime Edition.
Now, the stalled data recovery center in Naivasha requires an additional 3.2 billion shillings to be fully operational, making it one of the most expensive ICT projects in that region. According to the Parliamentary Committee on Finance, funding for the center could rise from the initial 800 million shillings to 5 billion when complete. This is after it emerged that the protracted dispute between the National Treasury on one end and the contractor was costing the Exchequer 600 million shillings every year.
The National Assembly Finance Committee visited the Stalled Data Recovery Center DRC Naivasha on a fact-finding mission. Months after the court awarded the contractor over 5 billion Kenya shillings as payment for the said project.
By us just being quiet, this project is costing taxpayers 600 million shillings every year. because the court award has an interest amount of 4% of outstanding sum. So 12% of the outstanding sum of 5 billion shillings means that every year, without taking any action, we are losing 600 million shillings.
During the visit, senior government officers were hard-pressed to explain to the committee how the cost of the project increased over 5 billion from the 800 million Kenya shillings currently in a span of 4 years.
What you've been able to see is a vision that was done 10 years ago. Had it been done as per scope, it would have cost taxpayers money around 800 million shillings. But because of some delays and some maybe not agreements, then you've seen the price shoot up to 5 billion shillings.
According to the committee chair, Kimani Kuria, the country did not have any data recovery center, making the Naivasha-based institution critical to the government services.
The need for the data recovery center still remains. The facility still remains such a viable facility. And so we're saying that it is very important that the Ministry of National Treasury and the Ministry of ICT sit together and find a conclusion on this particular project.
While calling on Treasury to urgently resolve the matter, Kuria noted that plans by the government to digitize all the services were in jeopardy.
It's very risky for us to not to have a data recovery center, because it would mean that in the event of the collapse of any of the data centers in Konza or the other one is in? GDC. And in GDC, that means there was no recovery. So there is really a need, and especially when the government of Kenya is talking about digitizing.
Abdiaziz Ashim for Prime Edition.
Government officials giving the green light for the construction of houses and other investments on fraudulently acquired public land. Listen to this. They will now be held personally liable for aiding graft. EACC Nyanza Regional Coordinator Ibrahim Mboya revealed that they will crack the whip on those acquiring the land and those aiding in illegal acquisitions that are resulting in losses to the taxpayer amounting to close to billions of shillings. Mboya further says that EACC has recovered a house worth over 400 million shillings in Kisumu County. The houses were built on public land earmarked for expansion of water intake lines for Kisumu Water and Sewerage Company, or Kewasco if you like. Achola Simon is our reporter on the ground with the details.
After a protracted court battle, the Ethics and Anti-Graft body has successfully reclaimed a house worth 400 million shillings that was built on fraudulently acquired public land in Kisumu County.
So following our filing of the plaint in court, the Land and Environmental Court agreed with the position of EACC and gave declarations that this parcel of land should revert back to the public.
The house sits on an expansive reserve land for the Kisumu Water and Sewerage Company.
Now, what that means is that anytime we have to do maintenance or repairs on our systems, then we have a challenge, as you can see, because the space is just not adequate enough.
This area was an open space, which was a public space, and was to be utilized as a sewer convergent point and to be utilized as a draining opening area. But more or less, it is sitting on the main entrance of pipes that are feeding the water from the lake to serve over 300,000 people.
The anti-graft body is still pursuing close to 72 cases of other public land and government houses fraudulently passed to private ownership in Kisumu CBD.
What we are telling them is that the business of land grabbing has no place in Kenya now.
Anti-graft regional boss Abraham Mboya has warned that government officials involved in the approval of construction of houses and other investments on fraudulently acquired land will be held individually culpable for conspiring with land grabbers.
We are now changing the strategy, right? Where in court, if we are filing for recovery, we will petition the court for the officer who signed off government land to pay for the same, to compensate the grabber.
Achola Simon, Prime Edition, Kisumu County.
the emotive issue of land there as EACC puts the grabbers on notice. Now, policymakers have been challenged to ensure inclusivity for persons living with disabilities in various spheres of the economy as well as leadership. Speaking during the 2023 International Day for Persons with Disabilities celebrations at the University of Nairobi, government spokesperson Dr. Isaac Mboya said that persons with disabilities can adequately deliver in different spheres of life given the opportunity. Bradley Agutu now reports.
Government spokesperson Dr. Isaac Mboya joined in the celebrations to mark the 2023 International Day for Persons with Disabilities, where he noted progress in ensuring that the Persons with Disabilities Bill 2023 is enacted.
There's a lot that the government is doing in terms of persons with disabilities, and even there's some kitty. When the monies for foreign trips were reduced, 500 million is set towards having accessible, equipment and devices for persons with disabilities. Speaking
during the official launch of the Disability Mainstreaming Strategy 2023 to 2028 for the University of Nairobi, Professor Colin Sodote, the Dean of Students at UON, noted that accessible physical, social and digital environment, capacity building, innovation and research as well as the participation of PWDs in the university processes are the priority areas that will enable PWDs to excel.
Please join us in the journey of implementing the University of Nairobi Disability Strategy.
In Baringo County, the celebrations were marked in Kabarnet, where PWDs in the area called on county and national government to work together to provide opportunities for PWDs in the country.
Ningeomba ya kwamba tuweze kuwashughulikia pia walemavu, especially mambo ya agenda. Ningependa ya kwamba waweze kureport such cases na society isaidie hao, kwa sababu society na hiyo community ni sauti yao.
Finally, the National Council for Persons with Disabilities, in partnership with Safaricom, is enabling 5,000 persons with disabilities to get job opportunities and training for free on their mobile devices.
The registration system of the National Council is something that I want to say something around. We overhauled our old registration system and introduced new registration system that generate detailed information about persons with disabilities in this country up to the ward level.
Bradley Agutu for Prime Edition.
Well, the Kenya National Union of Teachers are demanding that junior secondary school intern teachers be employed on permanent and pensionable terms. This comes amid threats by the teachers to down their tools at the start of the school term, that's in January, if terms are not reviewed. The Teachers Service Commission has, however, remained mum over the fate of the intern teachers whose contracts are set to expire on the 30th of December. Frederick Parsayo has the details of the looming showdown between the teachers and their employers.
A day after the intern teachers threatened to stay out of the classroom in January if the employment terms are not reviewed, the Kenyan National Union of Teachers, through Secretary General Colin Soyo, has joined in the call for them to be absorbed on permanent and pensionable terms.
It is Kenya National Union of Teachers as a union that should advocate for these teachers who are supposed to be employed on permanent and pensionable terms.
Oyo says that no teacher should be rendered jobless as they have amassed enough experience from their one-year internship program.
But this is a case where a teacher is trained, qualified like just the other teacher. The idea of employment as interns was just to reduce the shortage of teachers in this country.
Oyo made the remarks during the start of the 3-day annual teachers conference in Nairobi. During the conference, the question of teachers' remuneration was also revisited.
What they earn, it is pathetic. 17,000 and you're teaching a town. The house allowance alone is 15,000. So you have to spend 2,000 throughout the month. What does that mean? You're a pauper, you go around begging, which is so bad for this profession.
The teachers also called for tightening of laws to discourage gender-based violence among learners, especially while on holiday.
Where we are saying no to violence to our teachers, no to violence to our learners, not violence to the parents, because even us, we are parents.
Being mothers, being teachers, and of course we understand that women suffer the brunt. We suffer the brunt of school-related gender-based violence.
Parsai Frederick, reporting for Prime Edition.
Into the corridors of justice now. Kiambu High Court has quashed a ruling delivered on the 10th of November 2023 at Kahawa Law Courts by Principal Magistrate Gideon Kiage, which had granted 15 officers charged with abduction on a bond. The ruling now means that the 15 police officers who were accused of abducting 2 Indian nationals, remember, and their taxi driver as well, will be incarcerated until the matter is heard and determined. Details of this and other stories in the Scales of Justice segment.
Dora Chepkoni issued the orders following a petition by Senior Assistant Director of Public Prosecutions Michael Sang, arguing that the court erred in law by failing to recognize that torture, enforced disappearance and murder are identified as crimes against humanity by the Rome Statute. The ODPP also poked holes into the magistrate's decisions, arguing that he failed to appreciate the caller's nature of the case, the public interest considerations, and the value of the case in light of the dark history of the country in as far as enforced disappearances and extrajudicial killings are concerned. The judge has set mention for January 16th, the year 2024, to confirm compliance and further directions. Elsewhere, prosecution in the murder trial of former Migori Governor Okoth Obado, where Arongo University student Sharon Otieno was killed, now say they have new evidence of call data records from Safaricom. The trial judge was told that the crucial documents, which runs to over 500 pages, will be supplied to the defense team before the close of business Monday, before the hearing continues on Tuesday. However, defense counsels led by Kioko Kilukumi, Roger Sagana and Elisha Ongoya urged trial judge to compel prosecution to supply the documents by 2 p.m. on Monday to enable them prepare. While allowing the adjournment, Justice Gidhua took issue with the manner in which the prosecution chose to handle the matter. Michael Mondiga for Prime Edition.
Well, that story brings us to our first break right here on Prime Edition. And when we come back, he served, that's the camera, he served for only 9 months. We will tell you who he was and under whose administration he served on the cabinet when we return.
School fees ya msichana imemalizwa.
Loto moto. May the Almighty God bless you. Keep on doing the right thing.
Cheza Loto Moto. Shinda pesa moto moto.
Beberu hakutaka kutia sukuko mbele. Hakutaka kufanya chochote. Na kwa hivyo watu wakawa hawana nafasi.
Ijapokuwa watu wakisema kufundisha watoto watapata kazi wapi? Our villages and towns are powered by electricity.
How has Kenya fared in the realization of her independence clarion call of eliminating ignorance, poverty and diseases? Kenya at 60, a special KBC coverage beginning Monday, the 4th of December to Jamhuri Day.
Cheza Loto Moto.
School fees ya msichana imemalizwa.
Loto moto. May the Almighty God bless you. Keep on doing the right thing.
Cheza Loto Moto. Shinda pesa moto moto.
Best Lady is giving you the chance to win a brand new car. Visit any Best Lady outlet during the competition period from 1st November to 31st December and shop for your favorite beauty products. Enter your phone number in the draw. The more you shop, the higher your chances of winning. Plus, prices for all products have been reduced. It's never been easier to look gorgeous and win. Visit Best Lady today and shop your way to becoming our lucky winner. Terms and conditions apply. The National Youth Service will hold its pass-out graduation ceremony on Friday, the 8th of December 2023. His Excellency President Dr. William Samoei Ruto will preside over the event at the NYS College in Gilgil, Nakuru County. Watch the NYS Pass-Out Parade on Friday, the 8th of December 2023, live on KBC Channel 1 from 9 a.m. NYS, Huduma kwa Taifa.
Some news that are just landing on our news desk now. 5 people are feared dead after their boat capsized in Lake Victoria. That's around Oneko Beach in Nyatike in Migori County. The incident happening after high tides hit the lake waters, causing that boat to capsize. Local divers managing to save some occupants of the boat who had gone fishing when the incident happened. The area chief, David Okoth, is saying that the search for the bodies will resume tomorrow. And of course, this is a developing story, so we will be following it for you. 5 people feared dead after a boat that they were traveling in capsizing in Victoria area around Oneko Beach. That's in Migori County. The incident, of course, happening after high tides hit the waters, and that is what resulted into the boat capsizing. A few of the occupants of the boat were saved by the local divers who had gone fishing when that incident occurred. Of course, that's a story that we will be following for you. Now, on to that story that I teased. The cabinet, he served as the Minister for Commerce for only 9 months. And therefore, this week on the cabinet, we focus on, that's right, Kimayo Karone Arap Sego, who served in President Moi's administration.
Kimayo Karone Arap Sego was born in September 1952 in Captain Dawn in Lesos location, Nandi district, now known as Nandi County. Sego attended Kalibwani Primary School before moving on to the then prestigious Kapsabet High School for his ordinary level education and then St. Mary's Yala to do his advanced level. He would later join the University of Nairobi for a degree in law. He undertook his pupillage with Amata and Company Advocates in Eldoret and worked there for about 2 years before setting up his own law firm in Kapsabet town. In 1983, Sego challenged Henry Kosgei for the Tinderet seat. Since the KANU regulations at the time provided for direct entry into parliament for candidates with 70% and above votes in the primaries, Sego was announced as Kosgei's replacement. Soon after the elections, he was appointed Minister for Commerce. He was 32 years old, the same as Kosgei when he joined the cabinet. Sego lasted only 9 months in the cabinet and was replaced by John Cheruyot, another member of parliament from Nandi district. As Minister for Commerce, Sego oversaw the amendment of the Trade Licensing Act to promote local industries. This was within the government's policy of import substitution to curb the huge export bill and imbalance in trade against Kenya. Sego had inherited a ministry whose corporations were in deep debt. The KNTC was saddled with a 389 million shilling loss by the time he took over. After the introduction of multi-party politics in 1990s, Sego abandoned KANU to join the opposition's Democratic Party led by Mwai Kibaki. His defection was met with a hostile reception back home in Nandi. He was even attacked by a mob on his way to submit his nomination papers for the 1992 elections. The Rift Valley was considered an exclusively KANU zone. He lost the election and filed a petition against Kosgei's victory as Tinderet Member of Parliament, which he also lost. Sego disappeared from the limelight until 2003. when he joined the public service as a delegate to the National Constitutional Conference that was established to give Kenya a new constitution. In 2005, he was appointed chairperson of the National Anti-Corruption Campaign Steering Committee, created the previous year to champion the fight against corruption. Sego resigned from the committee in 2014 and settled back into his law firm. Jackie Wambiru, The Cabinet.
Well, I'm told that we are going straight into the business segment. And the government targets to create over 100,000 jobs over the next 5 years through the Special Economic Zones. Special Economic Zones Authority Chief Executive Officer Kennedy Chelule, while speaking right here in Nairobi, Kenya, challenged investors in the zones to leverage on the green economy deals signed by President Ruto at the COP28 meeting in Dubai to aid government efforts in meeting the employment target.
The Special Economic Zones Authority is on its final leg of its public participation exercise as it targets to amend about 19 pieces of legislation to its parent act. At the stakeholders meeting convened in Nairobi, the authority says through public and private special economic zones, the government will create over 100,000 jobs in the next 5 years as it seeks to end the worrying unemployment levels in Kenya.
Of course, we are still in a green environment. Most of our zones are green. So we are putting up infrastructure. As soon as the infrastructure are in place, okay, definitely you expect an expansion of job opportunities.
In total, we now have currently about 10,000 people working in Tatu City. By mid next year, as you've heard from CCI, that will be another 5,000. By end of next year, will be an additional 7,000 from Full Care, Zende Medical, bring us to an average of just above 20,000 jobs created in this one special economic zone.
The area itself is specially designated for service industry, so we are looking to support financial services players, the tech and innovation industry, management consulting and headquartering activities.
With the authority having lined up several incentives to both local and foreign investors, the authority says the multi-billion-dollar green economy deals signed by President William Ruto at the COP28 meeting provide yet another gold mine to investors.
We are also positioning our zones as a country as green manufacturing zones. As you are aware, our renewable energy is around 92%. So that puts us in a very advantageous position to be able to access global funds.
In the growth of special economic zones, we are going to bring in a lot of foreign direct income, and this will help to stabilize the economy of the country.
Kenya has really attracted very many investors. Our special economic zones, Tatu City, Konza, Naivasha, when you go there you find a lot of work going on. We have had very many investors who have come, the others who have given interest, who have applied.
Stakeholders representing special economic zones hailed the authority for constantly engaging them, saying consultations help place the country on the map as an ideal investment hub.
We are currently partnering with SEZ Authority to ensure that the licensing process is seamless for investors that are coming to set up their SEZ enterprises within Traffic SEZ.
The CESA regime has really attracted us to invest in Kenya because when you look across the East African region, the CESA regime gave us very good incentives for us not to move our business outside Kenya.
This consultative nature that the Special Economic Zone framework has brought about is really about how do we catalyze not just foreign direct investment, but also our small and medium enterprises in the country.
Recommendations from a public participation exercises held in Mombasa, Nyeri and Nairobi will be forwarded to the Cabinet, which will later transmit the amendment bill to Parliament.
More than 100 countries have reached a landmark deal to scale up the generation and use of nuclear energy in the next 8 years. The deal requires countries to triple investments in nuclear from the current $2 trillion all the way to $7 trillion by the year 2030. Kenya is among the first countries to sign the draft as it seeks to green its grid by 2025. O'Brien Kimani has more details from COP28 in Dubai, in the United Arab Emirates.
Another day down here at the COP28, and today's theme was around energy transition. We have seen a very ambitious document being signed by about 118 countries committing to triple the use of clean energy by the year 2030, and more specifically, nuclear energy. Well, county governments are also represented in this meeting, with the chair of the Environment Committee of the Council of Governors, Wilbur Otichilo, joining me to help me understand how is climate change impacting counties. And he told me that many counties are being forced to review their budgetary allocations because of the ongoing El Nino rains in Kenya, and this is impacting negatively the development vote. And this is what he told me.
Climate change is a reality and is taking place and is having a major impact on our populace, is having a major impact on our economy. We cannot plan because most of the plans, for example, when we did our budget, we did anticipate El Nino, although it was predicted, but we didn't expect it to come at that level that it's come.
Well, I also had a conversation with the Principal Secretary, State Department of Public Health, Mary Muthoni, and I was asking her how our health systems are prepared to deal with the risks associated with climate change. And she told me that Kenya is in the process of drafting a new document that is going to guide how the country responds health-wise to the challenging aspects of climate change. Just listen to her.
Right now, we are in the process of preparing the medium-term plan for the country. This is the time to inject some of those issues into our medium term in terms of resource mobilization, and equally reaching out to some of the funds that we can access, the open funds that we have, like the Green Climate Fund.
Well, the civil societies have also not been left behind. They are saying that there is a serious need to double and even triple the adaptation finance, saying that Africa requires massive resources to help it adapt to the changing climate. And of course, they're saying that what is being channeled towards Africa is barely enough. It cannot even scratch the surface when it comes to the needed resources to deal with climate adaptation.
So we are therefore calling for serious emission cuts. If you look at national determined contributions from Africa, they are so highly over-ambitious. We have highly over-committed, yet our emissions is only a meager 4%. And even that 4% is not evenly distributed across the continent. We are therefore saying that emission cut is a must.
For context, we need to remove 5 to 16 billion tons of CO2 from the atmosphere. And this is a mammoth challenge and needs all hands on deck kind of situation.
Kenya has an abundance of renewable energy, the right geological formations, and the talent to deploy direct air capture in Kenya and to elevate Kenya as the world's hub for direct air capture technology. So COP28 further elevates that, and yeah, Octavia Carbon is at the forefront of that.
We are keeping tabs of our movement here and, of course, analyzing every document that is coming out of this meeting. We'll keep you posted, but for now, back to your broadcasting house.
Many thanks indeed, O'Brien, for that report. Now, fintech companies are encouraging the government to consider incorporating digital finance into the country's education system. Speaking during the Digital and Technology Week in Nairobi, Kenya, Flute Wave Fintech Vice President Leon Kiptum says that digital finance is a next economic frontier and there is need, therefore, for a skilled workforce to tap into the fintech subsector.
Share of the fintech funding in the first half of 2023 stands at 43 billion shillings from 13 deals. The investment made Kenya among the top 3 countries in Africa with a bigger portion of fintech funding in the first half of 2023. Players in the fintech sector say there is need for a skilled population to tap into the sector's potential.
The future for this is the fact that with time, peer-to-peer payments will die off, because everybody thinks that once I send you M-Pesa, that's the cost. That's not the cost. We shouldn't be making money from me sending Kangete money. It should reach a point where if I'm sending Kangete money, it should be free. Other things should be added at the back end.
The government has been advised to consider incorporating digital finance into the country's education system if the country is to be a financial hub.
Something else that has been a bit of a deterrent is actually, contrary to common belief, is actually the availability of talent. Yeah, there's not sufficient talent in the market. We are always looking for the right people to come and work in our different spaces in the fintech world. So I wouldn't say there's a shortage. I'd say that there's a scramble for the good talent in the market.
Formulation of ICT-friendly policies have been touted as a catalyst of increased innovations in the financial sector.
From fintech development, we will be ushering in Karen Kibet to give us the very latest in the world of sports.
Cheza Loto Moto.
School fees ya mtoto imelipwa, lakini bado tunataka kuendelea throughout.
Loto Moto imekuja kwa maisha yetu when I needed it the most. That is all I can say for now. I'm so grateful. May God bless you.
Cheza Loto Moto. Shinda pesa moto moto.
The stage is set for a showcase of young talents as Kenya hosts the Sekafa Under-18 Championship from the 25th of November to 8th of December in Kisumu and Kakamega. Kenya, Sudan, Rwanda, Somalia, Zanzibar, South Sudan and Uganda are battling for the title in the 2-week tournament. The group phase matches are scheduled 25th of November to 1st of December. Then the semi-finals will be played on 5th of December and the final on 8th of December, all in Kisumu. Catch the matches live on KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
A very good evening to you. Welcome to KBC Prime Edition. My name is Karen Kibet. Let's now talk sports. Baringo County men's team outshined Nyeri men's team by 1-0 in the ongoing Talanta Hela Under-19 tournament at the Jamhuri grounds. In another match, Kisumu County ladies team thrashed Nairobi ladies 8-0 at Nyayo National Stadium.
Iran Vincent scored the only goal for Baringo in the 25th minute of the first half in a highly contested match.
We create at least 3 na tulitumia moja, na after kutumia ikabadilika, mechi ikakuwa ngumu sana. Nyeri walikuwa wazuri, sababu pia walikuwa wamejipanga, midfield yao ilituoverrun kidogo, lakini strategy yetu ilikuwa tunawabit kwa hiyo run yao.
In another match played at Nyayo National Stadium, Kisumu County ladies thrashed Nairobi County ladies 8-0. In other results, Kisumu County men defeated Nyamira 2-0, Kirinyaga County men outshined Marsabit 5-0.
We are hopeful that at the end of this tournament we are going to have very good talents. We were impressed by how they started yesterday. We had the girls playing very well, we had boys playing very well, and we are expecting the girls teams that are starting today also to do very well.
In the ladies category, Homa Bay County thrashed Kisii 15-0, West Pokot outshined Wajir 11-0, Nyeri defeated Samburu 6-0, while Kitui went down to Uasin Gishu 4-0.
These
nationals, we're going to get the tournament teams for both girls and boys. And we intend to have 30 girls and 30 boys from both sides for another 7 days here in Nairobi for further development.
The tournament will end on 12th December during the Jamhuri Day celebrations, with the winner walking away with 5 million shillings. Sela Onyango for Prime Edition.
Thank you, Sela, for that report. Moving on, the national women's 3x3 basketball team were crowned the champions of this year's FIBA 3x3 Africa Cup after silencing hosts Egypt 21-10 in a tense and tough final played in Cairo. The team has now boosted their hopes of booking a ticket in next year's Paris Olympic Games.
Even though Madagascar, beautiful bronze medalist.
Kenya staged a comeback to clinch the match dramatically after Mercy Wanyama's 2 points on the buzzer helped them snatch the title of the 5th edition of Africa Cup.
And yes,
the hosts cheered on by home crowd began brightly as their key players Nadine Selway and Soraya Mohammed combined for a total of 12.
Thank you, Akenyi. The national women's 3x3 basketball team beat Egypt 21-20 and not 21-10. Moving on, defending champions Nairobi Water and National Cereal started their campaign at the East and Central Africa Handball Federation Club Championship on a high note after winning their opening matches against Ulinzi Sharks and Gicumbi of Rwanda respectively at Nyayo National Stadium. Our reporter Nora Mwangi has the details.
In the men's side, Pool A is headlined by title holders National Cereals and Produce Board, who saw off Rwanda's Gicumbi 35-29 in the opener. The Kenyan side has been pitted against the Rwandese side, as well as its nemesis KDF Ulinzi, UPDF of Uganda and South Sudan. Pool B saw Kenyan's Uganda General Service Unit opening the group action against Uganda Prison in a match that ended 28-27 in favor of the Kenyans.
Since it's the first time that we are playing the Eastern Central, at least they are trying their best. The first match we have played, we have won with 1 score. I think it's an achievement for us because it's the first win in an international match.
They say freedom of play, of which we didn't have at the first, but at now, players are being given a chance to exploit themselves, play your game out, and we are good to go.
The group also has Equity Bank, Ugandans Evergreen, and former East and Central Africa Handball Federation Club champions Rwanda Police. Defending champions National Cereals and Produce Board defeated Tanzania's JKT by 40-25 in the only women's match of the day.
Hatujakuja kulegeza, ni kukaza kamba from one game to the other, na hiyo ndio kitu tumefanya. Tumeonyesha Wakenya kwamba hatujakuja tu kucheza for fun, au wengine kuja mchezo, sisi tumekuja game.
Mchezo ulikuwa ni mgumu, tumecheza, tumeshindwa, lakini kwa mechi zitakazofuata tutaweza kucheza kwa nguvu na kuweza kupata ushindi.
In women's pools, Pool A has Kenya's Nairobi Water and Defense Forces together with Nakaja from Uganda. Pool B has National Cereals and Produce Board, JKT from Tanzania and South Sudan. The 41st East and Central African Handball Club Championship has entered its day 2 with Kenyan teams posting good results in the week-long tournament. A total of 10 men's team and 6 for the ladies are participating in the tournament, which is in pools format. Kenyan teams are topping in each pool, and there is hope for the trophy remaining here home. Nora Mwangi for Prime Edition.
Thank you very much, Nora, for that detailed report. Moving on, national under-18 soccer team Junior Stars will face Tanzania tomorrow in the semi-finals of the Sekafa under-18 tournament at the Jomo Kenyatta Stadium in Kisumu. The other semi-final match pits Uganda against Rwanda and will be played at the same venue.
The national under-18 team Junior Stars are the front-runners at the ongoing Sekafa under-18 tournament. The team displayed an impressive performance and maintained a flawless record in a Pool A, accumulating 9 points.
I can say the team is equally good as us, so we're expecting a competition, a good one. And on our side, we are very confident that we are going to win that game. And of course, there's a lot of pressure from the fans, so we are equally prepared for the task.
In the 3 matches, the young talents found the back of the net 10 times and 5-0 triumph over Sudan, being most commanding victory. They will be joined by Rwanda, who also play a superb performance, securing 6 points in the pool, winning 2 matches and suffering a single defeat in the hand of Kenya.
Tumewaandaa vizuri kwa sababu ukiangalia tangu mwanzo tuliwaambia sisi tunataka kufika finali na tuchukue kombe. So kila mtu akili yake yote anataka kuchukua kombe, tutaka kujua ni.
Neighbors Uganda and Tanzania complete the semi-final pairings. Uganda top Group B after defeating South Sudan 2-0 in match playing in Kisumu, while Tanzania drew 1-1 with Zanzibar in Kakamega but qualify on the fair playground with less caution accumulated. Uganda will now face Rwanda in the semi-final at the Jomo Kenyatta Stadium in Kisumu, while Kenya battle Tanzania in the semi-final match at 2:30 p.m. at the same venue. Third place playoff and the final match will be played this Friday.
The national women's soccer team Harambee Starlets remains upbeat of qualifying for the 2024 Women's Africa Cup of Nations when they face the Zebras of Botswana tomorrow evening in the second leg final round match at the National Stadium in Gaborone. Starlets need to win the match by any margin to book a place in next year's Africa Cup of Nations after being held to a 1-1 draw in the first leg match played last week at the Nyayo National Stadium. Head coach by Beldin Odemba said the team is well prepared and ready to win the match and qualify for the continental event. A sports program targeting the youth in Kiharu constituency has been launched in a bid to curb alcoholism and drug abuse in the area. The program, which is inclusive of all sporting activities, will also seek to identify and nurture local talent. Kiharu Member of Parliament Ndindi Nyoro during the launch cited the program to be an icebreaker for tapping the potential among the youth at the grassroots. Speaking at Ihura Stadium during the launch of the program, Nyoro said there is a lot of untapped potential among the youth, adding that those who excel in various games can be getting income from it. He said he will support more soccer teams from the region to join Muranga Seal in the FKF Premier League.
We want over this long holiday all the youth wa Kiharu wakuwe engaged kwa vitu ambazo ni vitu poa, vitu kama za kadada ama sports, so that we also try to align them wasiende kwa zile vitu zinaweza waagusha sana. Pia tumejumuisha all the genders. Hii kama ni kadada, kuna kadada ya for men and for women, na pia tumeweka michezo mingi pia ya raha.
And that story brings us to the end of the sports news tonight. My name is Karen Kibet. I'll see you tomorrow with more sports news. I hand you back to my colleague Tom Mboya. Do not go too far.
We've gone ahead tukamaliza.
From the dawn of independence to the present day, Kenya has journeyed with strength and determination. We celebrate Kenya at 60. As we mark this incredible milestone, KBC and Jamboree present an unforgettable celebration of culture, music, and awareness. Immerse yourself in a musical journey featuring global sensations like the Mighty Itals and Everton Blender, all the way from Kingston, Jamaica, alongside our incredible homegrown artists. But it's not just about the music. Join us for a day of cancer awareness and a fun-filled family day, including horse riding, bouncing castles for the kids, and a special tree planting exercise. Save the dates as we tour a county near you. Ticket information is available on our social media handles at Jamboree Festival KE. Join the celebration, feel the rhythm, and make memories that will last a lifetime. Happy birthday, Kenya.
Cheza Loto Moto.
We've gone ahead tukamaliza pia school fees ya your other kid.
Thank you, God. Asante sana Loto Moto.
Cheza Loto Moto. Shinda pesa moto moto.
KBC Channel 1 magazine programs strive to disseminate news and information.
Welcome to Happening in the World of Entertainment
and achievements of individuals navigating through life.
Be part of the intelligent conversation. Papa KBC Channel 1.
Related to the interest of Kenyan public on various subjects of national importance.
Keeping you up to date with the latest tech news,
challenges, and remarkable stories of individuals with disabilities.
And you have a say.
Our magazine programs empower communities with words for conversations and a common language to approach the world.
For your infotainment needs, we have a great range of programs.
Now, on behalf of the Prime Edition team, including Lensa Odingo, I want to thank you for watching. My name is Mboya, but before we leave, Kiharu legislator Didi Nyoro was ranked the best performing member of parliament in the utilization of the National Government Constituency Development Fund. That's in a survey by Infotrack on the 5th of November. The legislator was hailed for heavy investing in education, among other key projects. Our reporter, JJ Kuria, had a sit down with the Kiharu constituency legislator, and they examined how the constituency is absorbing the 150 million shillings that's allocated to the constituency. Here is that report. Thank you for watching. I'm Mboya. Goodbye. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you very much, Kioria, and the entire KBC for this interview, and also for the time you spent in terms of checking our projects and what we do, especially in Kiharu. One thing that we try to do, and I am saying it just not as a backdrop of being an MP, I believe whichever position anyone is given an opportunity to serve, there are so many people who would qualify to be in that position. And therefore, I find it very important that whatever role that we are discharging, it is important we do it with all that we have in terms of the resources around us. Because my argument inakuanga, yule mtu hard working, na yule yako lazy, bado siku ni 24 hours. Na zote zinaisha. So, you better then utilize the limited time there is in every day to effect some changes, not just to yourself, but other people. But having said that, most of what we've done in Kiharu, and especially through CDF, as you have seen, is majorly in education sector. Because I have this belief that it is very hard that we would be where we are, were it not for an opportunity to go to school. It is not because our parents could afford, but because the ecosystem then, somehow we survived through primary school and high school. There are so many parents who are like our parents when we were growing up, who we are now in December, in November going to December, their children will be reporting to school early next year, and they don't know where even 1 shilling of school fees will come from. Since we have been bred and brought up in that kind of circumstance, I always feel obliged to make things better for parents and also for learners, so that we can give them decent education, which is affordable, but also where the circumstances are right in terms of infrastructure and the rest. So probably part of the motivation is based on where we've come from. And therefore, that probably shapes a lot of decision making around what we do in Kiharu. Actually, the problem I had seen is not just in Kiharu but across, where the learners who are in schools, their parents are always at the mercy because they rarely are able to clear their school fees. So when we were going around campaigning, even for the president, I could see and identify with many Kenyans, even beyond Kiharu. And let me tell you, Kyoria, that program of Masomo Bora, we started conceptualizing it immediately after elections. I remember there are times we left this office at 3 a.m. in the morning trying to craft a formula on how to lower the school fees. Because yes, what is conventional is bursary issuance, but then it goes up to this level. We thought it is important we do much more. We do something unorthodox. So what we did is we took all the data of our public secondary day schools. They are around 61 in Kiharu, with the learners around 13,000 learners. So we then took all the expenditure items for every school and we tried to work backwards. What we realized are a few things. One is that schools, most of the schools in Kenya, they run like an insurance company. The school fees they charge is more like the policy. Because you ask every principal in Kenya, they'll tell you they target 70% fee payment in the school you run. Because they factor in there are some who will delay, there are some who will actually not pay. So what we did then, after finding out the amount of money that all our schools spend every year, which came to around 120 million, then we worked a formula. What if this money is available beforehand? Then that does a lot of things, because the 70% then becomes the new basis. So you lower school fees by just paying in time. So we came back now and crafted, what if then we provision this money that we are providing from the NGCDF upfront, so that we are not chasing the past, we are actually confronting the future. So that is what we did. Secondly, you realize that the majority of the schools, because of how fees is paid, they are not able to buy a lot of commodities in big quantities. Quantities in a day school, meaning especially food. So what happens is that they lose out on a quantity discount because you can only buy for your school. And you also lose out on pricing. Pricing because when you are buying small, you pay more. When you are buying more, you pay less. So we did something called backward aggregation. So you know what the quantity we need for all the schools, then we work backwards. So what we do, that is why the school fees is low. One, we aggregate our purchases. If there is purchases to be done, we negotiate for them in aggregate, and then in consequence, we pay less. So that is how we are able to achieve that kind of school fees. However, I must also acknowledge that we also got a boost from an organization called Food for Education, who also were very pivotal, because that is their domain, in crafting a formula that would, one, promote nutrition, but also number two, lower school fees. However, Masomo Bora is not just about food. That is why it is an educational program. We have provided in it 10 million shillings for revision books for our day schools, and in it, currently we have embarked on transforming all our day schools, transforming in terms of new infrastructure, and also reworking on the infrastructure that is old, so that all our public day schools, there will be no distinction between a day school in Kiharu and any other place. And lastly, one other policy that we came up with is that even if a child from whichever side of Kenya comes to study in any of our day schools, they will also pay the same 1,000. And the reason we did that is because many times we ask parents for IDs to identify where they vote. But this is a learner. This learner is not of the age of voting. What they want is education. So that if there is an auntie of a learner who is in Kiharu, and that learner is anywhere in Kenya, and their parents cannot take them to school, when they come to a Kiharu day school, they pay just the 1,000 that Kiharu day scholars pay. I am glad you went around this December because you have embarked on that program. And when you get time, I would request that I accompany you. We go in January. Because for the last 5 years, we were able to tile all our public day schools. All of them. There is no single one. There is no pupil in Kiharu who steps in a classroom without tiles. And when I talk about tiles, tiles is a representative of the others. Because we have built new structures. We have renovated all the old structures. There is no wooden doors again. There are no wooden windows. There are no wire mesh. We have redone all our schools so that they look like real schools in terms of, I don't know how to use the name the word academy, because I think they are even more than some of the private schools that we have. The reason we did that is to dignify learners. You know, when you have some means, you are able to take your children to a school that resonates well in terms of what they see also. But majority of our rural day schools, and especially primary schools, are at the same state that we went through them. So we came up with a program of having and bringing modern infrastructure in our schools. And we have achieved on the side of our day schools. How are we able to achieve this? With the retro money that we get from CDF. What we did, we came up with a program called labor-based, where in Kiharu, NGCDF projects are community projects. We don't give tenders. The people who work on those projects are the people of Kiharu. It is a tedious job because it's provided for in the Public and Procurement and Public Disposal Act. But we took the hard path because accounting for that program is also very difficult. But we took it up because we thought that is where we would optimize. We then, because we knew we are doing tiling, and we knew this is a skill that maybe not many people possess, and professional painting was also part of it. We took 150 people from Kiharu. We took them into a short course. We trained them on how to fix tiles. We also took another 150. We trained them on professional paintings. We already had welders. We already had foodies. We already had carpenters. And therefore we were able to optimize on all the labor that actually gets applied, or all the people who work on all our projects. They all come from Kiharu. So that when we give a school money, let's say we give the upper money, the upper primary, secondary, the upper primary money, then all that money, most of it will remain around there. Because those are the people who actually end up supplying in that particular project. And therefore they actually become real community projects. Secondly, now this year, around actually the same 5 years, Ida ya Kwanza, we also started 7 new day schools with the same model. Some already have students. There are like 3 that will be opening in January. So it's not just primary schools. We also went to secondary schools and improved infrastructure, including now building new institutions. Now, this December, after now doing all the work for the past 5 years in primary schools, it reached a point where you'd come to Kiharu, then you get lost. Because you know most of our rural areas, the primary school is near a secondary school. Now, primary school became better in terms of appearance infrastructure. So you'd come as a visitor in Kiharu, when you are going to a primary school, to a secondary school, you'd likely go to the primary. So that is why now we have started another program now targeting our day schools, so that we elevate their infrastructure, we elevate how they look. We are already in the process this December. There is no single corner in Kiharu that there is no ongoing work. Because what we do, we push all our CDF projects towards a holiday that is long, so that we don't disturb learners, but we also capitalize on that time that there are no learners, so that we transform a lot of infrastructure. Now, on the same breath, we came up now from actually last year. We have already tested in 2 schools, beautification and cabro. We've already actually done in 2 primary schools, and it's complete. This December, we are doing an extra 10. This is still piloting, and then we will roll out to all our schools. What we do again to bring the cost down, before we embark on any project, the preliminary work takes a lot of time. We make sure there is labor. If there is no labor, we train. We identify supply chains, so that where we can bridge a supply chain by bringing in Kiharu people, we do that, so that we capitalize on all our money revolving around our locality. So that's what we do. So we are currently now doing cabro in our public primary schools and also our day schools, and not just cabro. What we decided, because I called our staff and we discussed about this. When we work, we just don't look at brick and mortar. We look for also an appealing output. So what we are doing beyond cabro is proper landscaping in our public primary schools and day schools, including planting palms, planting all the exotic trees that you may think of, so that our day schools, there will be our primary schools and our day schools. There will be no distinction between any school you get in any developed country with the ones that we'll be having. First of all, I want to appreciate all the work done by majority of the MPs, because they really try. Many times the leader could have the right intentions, but then the process involves other people. And maybe some of those people, you can't control them. So having that atmosphere and a clear process is very important. Secondly, it is important to take charge. I was involved, including choosing the colors of the tiles and every other details, because my assessment is usually that when you're elected in an elective position, it is you who get elected by the people. They don't elect your staff. They elect you. So you have to have the last responsibility. And you cannot blame anyone for performance or non-performance, because the ultimate responsibility in the ballot was given to the individual, that is the MP or any other elective seat. So one of the reasons I know that works for us is the model. We cut a lot of cost by doing labor-based. We do a lot of multiplier by having this money rotating around our villages. So, to answer you, I think we do a lot of planning before we implement. Like this Cabro project, we have done all the feasibility that needs to be done, including at one point we wanted to manufacture the cabros ourselves. Then we found it may not work very well, because the margins in terms of the people who do that are not anything to worry about. So we do a lot of preliminary work and planning. We factified. Before we launch any project, the kind of work we usually have done is bigger than the project, so that you end up thinking more, so that you do less. Just the same way, you take time to sharpen your axe, other than take too much time cutting a tree. So that is part of the areas that we capitalize on. But also, having very good people. I think I'm also lucky to be an MP of very great people, because some of the projects that we do, it's not the Denyoro who do them. We actually do it as a community. And for example, Kioria, all those schools I'm mentioning to you, I've been there myself, not once. For example, when we were doing Cabro, I could just go unannounced, spend time there, check the processes, check the quality, so that then you are totally answerable. And I remember one thing that happened when we were starting the tiling program. I went to one school and I found that the foodies who we had just trained, tile ilikuwa inawekwa not very straight. Then we had to make a decision. Do we look for other labor to do this work? Or do we let our people make a few mistakes then perfect? Then we decided, if we don't give them an opportunity to learn, there is no one who will give them an opportunity to learn. So even those who were not very good in fixing tiles, we never chased them away. They perfected in the work. So they were able to get themselves a skill, but we achieved doing what we did at a very optimal cost. Kyori, I think the answer to that question is that what you've talked about in terms of closeness to the president and the responsibilities in parliament, and also the achievement in terms of the constituency level, those issues are not mutually exclusive. I would actually say they are mutually inclusive. One helps the other. Why? The kind of mentorship, for example, we get by the closeness to the president by itself is a factor of doing the right job. So that is very important, and I have to give it to the president for being a very good mentor to me and many of us, because he has been an MP like us, so we keep on learning. Anytime you interact with a person like the president, you capitalize on learning, because they have seen much more than you have seen. Secondly, structures. Let me tell you, Kyria, for a leader to be effective, you have to devolve power, not responsibility. You have to devolve power. Give people an opportunity to make decisions. I can tell you, yes, I am very good in supervising in terms of going where the projects are, but I give my staff so much power. I tell them where you are the MP of Kiharu, because you are getting paid from the office of the MP. So when they are doing a project, they think the way I should think, so that there is efficiency. Because when you bog yourself down with all the details, when you set the right structures, then you are left supervising. But when you bog yourself down with details, you choke the process. In terms of budget making, when you let other people also exercise their mind and respect them, then you open up to so much creativity, cumulatively speaking. So we have the very good staff also. We do a lot of training after every now and then. Training not just technical one, but also the soft one. How do you handle people? How do you answer phone calls? Small things. When one of our bosses who is the voter in Kiharu calls you as my staff, how do you answer that phone call? We take like 40 minutes discussing a phone call, so that you have a straight line. When people now get accustomed to where you are going, the path is already laid, everyone is headed to that path, then there is very little time to waste. And then output becomes more multiplied. So we have setting the right structures is very critical. Devolving power is critical. So that the people you employ because you had noticed they are the best, then why are you rodding over them? Then if you rod over your staff, if you chase every detail, it means you actually wronged in hiring them. So you are the wrong person in the first place. So that is one of the issues that we look at. And also, we do not let any of the roles cross the other. There is a hierarchy I put. You not be budget chairman before you become a member of parliament. So you need to see what comes first. So that even when, and then secondly, Kenya is too critical a country for anyone given a role not to engage themselves fully into it. So, as you work in Kiharu, as an MP for Kiharu, or as I do so myself, on the other side, budget making process affects now everyone else. So both roles are critical, and none can give way to the other. So it's just about how do you arrange your time. And I think on that, we do a lot of that, because most times, 10 p.m. in this office, most of the time is just like 2 p.m. You are likely to get full staff here in this office at 10 p.m. working like it is during daytime. So then you wonder, even if we went home earlier, what is the benefit of those who went home earlier? So that's how you look at it. If you can devote 2-3 more hours to the country, Kenya becomes better, and then you just give up a few hours of sleep. I think that is not too much for anyone to be asked to do. I think we are a product of a summation of many things. One, a product of how you are born, how and where you grew up, and the experiences they are in. So, after all is said and done, Kuria is the sum total of all his years up to date. I am also the sum total of all my experiences, bad or good. And many times we want to shy away from the bad ones, or what would be called the poor ones, and then associate more with those that which are shining. And I don't think that is correct. Because you are a sum total of all your experiences. My father was a carpenter, living in Kiadutu slums in Thika. When I visited my father, I could see outside, I could see people fighting outside when I was in the house. Not because there were window panes, but because of the gaps there were between, in the structure. Where we've come from in terms of upbringing, there is no single day. You remember that time primary schools used to pay school fees. When people were being chased away for school fees, when I saw the headmaster with that sheet, I was already off, even before they read. Because I knew there is no way I could miss in that list. In secondary school also, there is, unless the bursar made a mistake, there is no way I could not be in the list of people who are being sent home to look for school fees. In KU, the same. I had to have a hotel in KM to supplement help so that I am in school. So all those experiences, they make you real. And it's so hard to depart from them. It is almost impossible. And I think they are good because of the grounding. Because, curious, something else that you need to ask. Kenya, we have parliament, which I serve in. Is it a House of Commons or a House of Lords? Because I think parliament is a House of Commons. A House of Commons means people do not elect what you'd call the best. They elect one of them. House of Commons means we have agreed you go represent us because you are one of us. So you must have the right, the experiences that are the mean or average of the many, and your thinking must be not very far from the mean of the thinking of the people you are leading, because it's a House of Commons. So that experience is the same experience majority of the parents go through. Then it makes you a more effective leader to have gone through the experiences that the people you are leading have gone through or are going through.
Cheza Loto Moto.
School fees mtoto imelipwa, lakini bado tunataka kuendelea.